How's it going, everyone? It is Friday, August 2nd, 2024. Let's get into the picks from the last video. First, we had an earnings time spread that I gave on Square. I was able to get this filled on the same day. So I took the earnings time spread. If I go into my picks here, I took the earnings time spread somewhere around here. The 62 calls for a 54-cent debit, and then I got filled for a 66-cent credit later in the day, about a little bit less than 25% profit, maybe 22.5, something like that. And I got filled over here later in the day. So how does this work? Well, remember, this is a delta neutral strategy. So it matters less that the stock is moving up or down. What really matters is that IV crush. So as we got close to the earnings, we had just some movement, some IV crush, a little bit pop up going up over here. And that was just enough to get the fill on the same day. So nice win on Square there. Second picks we have, let's take this off the list. We have Ulta. And I gave that short just right when the market was beginning to crack down right over here. 1220, we were close to that 50-day SMA. So Ulta over here, take it at 1220, rides down a little bit lower, starts to stall a little bit. Market starts to stall at the 100-day SMA. We have a bullish one of peak Ross, so I'm fine with taking some gains there. So you have a quick gain here from around 350, somewhere around 348. Maybe get $1, $1.50 on that. Ulta does continue lower, and so does the market. But I didn't have quite the confidence to hold through that 100-day SMA quite yet. We didn't get much of a bounce, but we could have gotten a little bit of a bounce. So what would be the clue over here? Well, we have really strong, steady price action, lots of heavy volume over here. Got a little bit of a bounce, and then we proceeded lower. That was the clue, or this strong price action is a clue that we have a good chance of getting through this level. And we didn't really see much of a bounce all day until pretty much the very end, the last hour of the day. We got a little bit of a bounce and a bit of a retest of that SMA. So Ulta, nice little win there. Even if it's, we missed a good chunk, we missed a whole chunk of the move, we still got a nice little chunk of the move, and I am very much okay with that. Same thing with Airbnb. I did actually ended up taking this in the chat. I took a tiny win on this. I got in right here at 1220. And I got out over here for maybe like a 30-cent win. Nothing crazy, about half my typical win. Just because we're at the 100-day SMA. I didn't want to take my chances. I just wanted to see what would happen. And so that was the other win on this stock. Okay, so what the heck's going on in the market, and what does that mean for our swing trades? So we finally got through this week of information, and let's do a quick recap of what has happened this week so far with the earnings, with the economic information. So generally speaking, there were bearish reactions across the board towards earnings. Let's go to our mega cap tech stocks here. Now, NVIDIA has not reported yet. First, let's look at Meta. Gap up, then gave back some of the gains. Google, week after earnings. Microsoft, week after earnings. Tesla, week after earnings. Amazon, week after earnings. And Apple seems to be doing okay right now. So most of them were pretty weak, and the earnings reports weren't terrible. Like a lot of them did have beats, but expectations are pretty high. So they can only be so high and for so long before companies don't quite meet those lofty expectations. So that was the first thing. Second thing is what's going on with the economy and the interest rate hikes. So Fed came out, there was no interest rate hike this week. The market is pricing in 100% chance of a rate cut in September, which is huge. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I will believe it when I see it. That's kind of my mindset with regards to this. The other look over here, CPI a little bit cooler than expected. PPI a little bit hotter than expected. Not much of a reaction on PPI. PCE deflator, 2.6 versus 2.5 expected. Not really immediate reaction on that. So inflation data showing nothing crazy. It's been coming down steadily. It's been stubborn, but it is coming down. We got our first look at GDP for Q2, 2.8 versus 2.0 expected. It was a flat reaction at first, but then we got a decent bounce later in the day. That was on the 25th. So that is pretty bullish for the economy. Unemployment came out today, 4.3 versus 4.1 expected, which had a bearish reaction initially. We also had average hourly earnings come down cooler than expected at 0.02 versus 0.3. So that is a really big part of inflation, because, you know, the biggest spend for companies is people. So we want that rate to be, that's a very bullish sign for inflation overall. And then that is suggests more dovish tone or a dovish indication for what the Fed might do. So putting all of this together, here's what we can conclude. First is the inflation path is coming down and the Fed is getting close to doing its rate cuts. Most likely will happen this year. Second, the economy is still holding strong. GDP is looking better from what happened in Q1. Unemployment is still fairly low, has been creeping up a little bit, but nothing alarming so far. Mega cap tech earnings have been fine, but expectations were very, very high. So we did not get the bullish reaction that we wanted to see. And we also know that technically, now let's go to the technical part of this long-term bias. So long-term, fundamentally, I'm still fairly bullish, right? The economy is still good. Again, inflation's coming down. We're getting close to those rate cuts. So nothing bearish there. Technically, however, we are seeing a bit of a market correction. So last leg of this rally, right? Low volume rally, super low volume rally, not a ton of conviction. Doesn't mean we can be bearish, doesn't mean we just mean can't be as bullish. Now we get pretty strong move down, test the 50 SMA, we're digesting some of the earnings gains. And remember earlier this week I said, look, we had one scenario that could play out like this, right? And here was kind of the juncture. See how in this case we managed to go up. In this case, we cracked down, and this is a bearish indication. Here's our double top. Here is our lower high. Here is our lower lows. Okay, so long-term, technically, I am bearish. Now, how bearish I am is going to depend on really how we move down. Will it be sort of a steady trickle lower, or are we going to have some tall bounces? If we go back to what happened last year, around the same time, so we get some weakness here. You can see that we get a steady trickle lower, a little bit of a selling climax. We get a pretty tall bounce, right? And then we get the next leg lower. We get another tall bounce. We get the next leg lower, and then we start to go higher. So there are bounces in here throughout the way, and then we want to get short on these bounces. That's when we want to get short. So that is what we're going to be looking for on a longer term time frame. Now, I think this is a good opportunity to take some bearish shorts. We're going to see what plays out in the market here. But I am looking for some sort of a weak bounce, something like that we saw here last week for the past couple of days, where we kind of grind up higher and then we get a big door slam in our faces. This was I think, a very key sign, because if buyers were engaged, we should not have seen this level of retracement. And if the rest of mega cap tech earnings reported well, we could have gotten a pop up. We did not get that pop up. So longer term, technically, mildly bearish. We have to keep in mind this longer term view of the market, right? Where there's simply going to be a correction. And we know that this correction could set us up for a very nice buying opportunity for the last 2 months of the year in that little holiday rally. All right. The other thing we're going to draw here is a downward sloping trend line. When this gets breached to the upside eventually, that will be a very nice indication for us to get long. Okay, so short term, what can we expect here? Well, we had a very big round of selling yesterday. Got a little bit of a bounce at the end of the day, gap down, some follow through selling, and then we hit the SMA right here, finding a bit of support at this level. So we know that sellers have control in the longer to medium term time frame for the next few months. I foresee it August, September, potentially October. So we want to get in on these failed bounces. When these bounces start to, when we go up here, we start to stall, we start to fail, we start to roll over. That's when we want to get in on the move. So we made a pretty big drop. I am mildly bearish today, not as bearish because we had a pretty big bear trend yesterday. Let's zoom into the M5 a little bit here. So yesterday you can see we just have relentless selling. Sellers are just pounding every single bid. Every time there's a little bit of an offer, we get pounded down. Institutions taking a lot of risk off the table. Today we get a little bit more follow through selling, and then we stall here at the 100-day SMA. We got this wannabe bearish cross, or bearish cycle ending, bullish cross starting to form, starting to inch up higher. What can we expect for today? Well, since yesterday was a huge bearish trend day, I'm not expecting as much move to happen on this side here. And actually, this little bit of a bounce is our best case to get in on some day trading shorts. You can see that we had some nice organized selling pressure earlier in the day, and now we are we kind of stalled for a little while here for about an hour-ish, hour and a half stalled, and now we're getting a little bit of liftoff. So this is going to be a pretty key tell. If we stall at VWAP over here, we're unable to get very high, then I think we could have some nice opportunities to short. If we get a nice tall bounce and reversal, we know that a short-term low is in, and we can wait for this bounce to get in on our next shorts. So I'm not going to take any swing shorts until I see kind of what happens today. I'm really waiting for a bounce on the D1. For intraday shorts here, we are looking to see what the market does on this bounce here. Are we able to get anything going, or do buyers have some control at this level? So now that we have our bearings, let's take a look again at our picks. So we have two picks here, two longs, JMIA, and we have ASTS. So all things considered, JMIA did pretty well. The only thing we got wrong was the market. This stock was strong, but it was not strong enough to really withstand the market. So that's the first thing I have against me. I got the market wrong. The second thing I have against me is that this stock is running into earnings pretty soon. I'm going to report earnings Monday, either Monday after the close or Tuesday before the open. So Monday is really my last day to get out of the stock. Now, I'm willing to hold this stock until Monday, and I'm really just looking to get a better loss at this point. My average price here is about $13 and about $13.60. So you can see I'm down about $2 and 70 cents. So if I can get out for maybe a $2 loss, even a $1.50 loss, I would be pretty happy with that. Now, that's really going to depend on if we can get some sort of bounce in SPY. You can see how this stock has been filling the gap here, really climbing higher as soon as the market found a little bit of support, stalled over here while the market was going down. So that was a sign of support. We also know that this is a pretty strong D1. So buyers aren't just going to throw in the towel. They are going to try to stage a little bit of a move higher. So our goal is, look, this stock, I was wrong about the market. I knew the risk going into the trade when I took it over here and decided to hold it on the 22nd, and I got the market wrong. And, you know, that is just part of the risk you have to accept when you take a trade like this. In hindsight, could have said, yeah, well, look, I think that, I should have just taken profits earlier. Maybe, and I'll probably take a look at that when we do our monthly video. But it was a strong D1. I liked what I saw. But some potential room for improvement. But I'm not going to berate myself on how I played it too much. I'm just going to use that opportunity to learn here. Now, ASTS doing even better, right? This stock has been able to grind up higher and grind up higher / stay relatively flat while the market has been inching lower. Took it here on the 26th. Market has been coming down. Stock has been holding the gains. On any sort of market move higher, I believe this stock should also respond. Now, here's the important clue. I'm not going to overstay my welcome in this stock now. We know that the longer-term market bias is slightly bearish here. We are on borrowed time. Even with the stock like JMIA, it was only able to resist the market for so long before it started to give away some of its gains. Same thing with ASTS. It's only able to hold up so long before the market will start to drag it down with it. Now, in this sort of correction here, I'm expecting to see some decent bounces that'll last a couple of days, and then the next leg higher. So when we get a bounce here and it starts to stall a little bit, maybe we get some mixed candles, we get maybe a tiny volume doji. Okay, I'm gonna expect this stock to make a new high, and I'm gonna take my gains into profits. We have a nice runway over here. Now, if the market bounces and the stock doesn't bounce, I'm also going to get out of the trade because, again, that means the selling pressure is actually a little bit more decent than we thought. And this stock did not have the buying support that we needed to see from it. So JMIA, I'm probably going to close either today or tomorrow. ASTS, I plan to hold for a few more days, waiting for a little bit of a bounce here. Perhaps another test of this gap. The gap was tested today. So perhaps a test of this gap here, maybe somewhere at 537. That'll be a nice opportunity for me to, 1, get out of my longs, and then 2, start to enter some swing shorts. And we can start evaluating some really weak stocks during these pullbacks. So that's what we're watching for over here. So what are some stocks that we can trade today? Now let's take a look at what is happening SPY intraday here. We're getting a little bit of a bounce. Let's see what stocks are actually holding their weight over here. So let's go to relative weakness. There's a lot of picks here. So we need to be very selective with what stocks we are picking. Let's go to relatively weak. So we want a stock with heavy volume, and has been kind of ignoring this last leg lower. But some of these aren't looking super great. So what I'm going to do is go to red royal flush instead. And then sort by range, and then let's look at volume. All right, let's look at mRNA. There's a little bit of follow through on here. Starting to crack down. Some decent relative weakness here. I do like what I see on that. Bank stocks continue to be quite weak. BAC, GM. I like what I see in GM for even a longer term swing potentially. Yeah, kind of grinding down lower. Disney. It's also a nice move lower. Coming up against that trend line that might provide some support. Looks like it is. We're going to go to some custom searches here. What's going on with cake? Okay. Cheesecake Factory. Interesting. I've never really traded this guy. Looks like it's a very choppy stock here. Certainly got some volume today. Grinding lower. Not a bad place to take a short right now, I would say. Let's see what else we can find here. Asan, beautiful crackdown. Could be a nice one to day trade. Kind of grinding lower. Not a lot of momentum. Not crazy about it. There's just so many stocks to pick from. BIIB. Getting through that low of the day. Nice. Also a bit of a choppier stock. I do like this breakdown though. Getting through this horizontal support level. We have plenty of room to about 190. I like what I see in BIIB. Certainly is a stock that seems to trend. Let's see what's coming on. Tags over here. Met was very nice today. Not responding. A little bit of a bounce, not responding too much. Let's look at Hood maybe. Yeah, Hood is pretty nice. Not bouncing up too much here. Let's see if we can find a nice little day trade today. Okay, so I'm going to edit this search on bear volume. See some stocks that have some relative weakness to the market right now. Okay, weak to the D1 overall. Here we go. All right, so now we got a decent amount of picks for today. Not APO. CDNS is not bad. CVE, not too bad here. DB, no. EC. Energy stocks are quite weak. Not a bad move down. HES, another energy guy. At some blue is some major resistance here. JBL. That's a nice breakdown in that stock. I like that breakdown. Pulling back a little bit here, but still pretty weak. Yeah, that could be the pick. Not crazy about Marriott. MP, basic mats. It's pretty good. mRNA, we saw mRNA is not bad. NCLH, also not bad, although it's right at that support level. OVV, nice breakdown in that stock as well. Yeah, nice little grind lower. I do like OVV. That's another big pick for today. Team, not too bad. It could be a little bit better. Target decent. Looks like it's a little at some support right there. All right, I'm going to go with JBL and OVV short. I want this market bounce to stall. And once it stalls and these stocks start to roll over, that's when I would get into the trades. So those are our 2 picks today, everyone. Thanks for watching. And we'll take a look at how those picks did in the video on Monday.